In his first public address since leaving office, former President Joe Biden slammed the Trump administration, calling out its cuts to the Social Security Administration.
Fewer than 100 days, this new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon. They've taken a hatchet to the Social Security Administration. We can't go on like this as a divided nation, as divided as we are.
CBS News political contributor Joel Payne joins us here in Studio 57 with more on this. Joel, great to see you.
Good to see you.
What a flashback, and great, and here we see the former president now speaking out for the first time. Did anything he said surprise you, and why is he choosing this moment?
Oh, I think everything stood to reason. Look, Joe Biden has been a staunch, stalwart defender of Social Security in his time in public office. This seems like an obvious issue for him to step back in on. But, you know, the broader point here, Errol, I think, is Democrats have a bigger question. I call it the Biden question that they've got to wrestle with about how do you resolve the hangover issues from Joe Biden from his term, the end of his term, the transition to Kamala Harris as the candidate in 2024. And, you know, the sense of betrayal that a lot of Democrats feel because many of them feel like they were kept in the dark about his condition, whether or not he could run a rigorous campaign, and ultimately where it has landed Democrats, which is in the minority with Donald Trump as president once again.
Biden slammed also the Trump administration's cuts to Social Security staff, mentioning some of the controversial cuts that Elon Musk, Trump's advisor, has made as part of DOGE. Let's just listen to some of that.
One of them called it a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme? What the hell are they talking about? People earn these benefits. They paid into that benefit. They rely on that benefit.
Now, you're saying it's no surprise that he's drilling down on this issue, but considering Democrats have to wrestle with the Biden question, is this helpful for Democrats now?
I think it is helpful for all of the big Democratic voices, the names that you know, to validate and to offer permission for people to continue to make the case that they've made to protect things like Social Security and to name what Elon Musk, name what Donald Trump are trying to do. So I think as Joe Biden is a high profile, among the most high profile Democrats in the country doing that, I think that stands to reason. But look, this is not, and I've said this before, this is not a time for top-down leadership. The leadership from the Democratic Party right now is coming from the grassroots. It's coming from outside of Washington, D.C. I don't know if any voters per se are looking to take their marching orders from a former president, particularly one, again, as I alluded to, the issues with the end of his term still lingering and unresolved.
And Biden does remain one of President Trump's favorite targets. We've just seen a post on Truth Social from a few minutes ago where President Trump calls him Sleepy Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the country who allowed millions of criminals in. I'm paraphrasing, and he goes on to Trump say, that's why I got elected to do, get killers and thugs out of here. You're speaking about the new generation of leaders, and we know that the Democratic National Committee has a new vice chair, Parkland survivor David Hogg. He wants to unseat some incumbent House Democrats. How much momentum is there for him?
There will absolutely be an audience for some Democrats to be challenged. And by the way, that makes sense. Even in normal times, I think it would make sense for Democrats to look to cycle out some folks who have been in office and been in positions for a long time to look for new voices. I think what's interesting about this is Hogg represents this break in generation. He's a young man. I think he might not even be 30 years old. And he, again, is tied to this very notable incident at Parkland. And he's been a very outspoken advocate, not just for gun control, but for a different generation in politics. I imagine he'll have some success. There are groups like Run for Something that are encouraging new Democratic voices to kind of jump into the political fray. I would not be surprised if in 2026 you saw this theme of, you know, Democratic stalwarts being challenged by new voices.
All right, we'll keep watching this. Joel Payne, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.